Before we start the video, I need to clarify that I finished this game the week it released, before any updates had been added. If I left out anything, or parts of this review differ from your experience, that is why. Alright, on with the video. What's up gamers, welcome back to another episode of Video Game Gems. I'm Ginge the Ripper, let's play a game. Sonic Frontiers is a much needed step in the right direction for Sonic. The Sonic franchise has been on a downward spiral since Sonic Generations in 2011. While the fan base is very headstrong and connected in their love for the blue blur, their views on the direction of the games are widely divided. There's a faction living in nostalgia, wanting him back in 2D platforming games.
Woo! Yeah, 2D Sonic! We're scared of dimensions!
Another faction that I'm a part of, who want Sonic Adventure-style games to make a return, playing as multiple characters with connected stories and explorative levels.
Woo! 3D Sonic! We like games with depth!
And a final faction that enjoys the boost-style gameplay we have now, that exclusively focuses on speed. Levels are linear, encouraging players to beat them as quickly as possible, instead of exploring them.
We hate fun!
With three main factions of devoted Sonic fans, Sonic Team, the developers of the series, have tried their best numerous times to appeal to everyone, but never got it right, because when you try to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one.
Here you losers, this is your Sonic now.
Kill me! So, near the end of Sonic Force's development, the predecessor to Sonic Frontiers, Sonic Team decided enough was enough. They would stop listening to Sonic fans and focus on making games that appealed to them, with Frontiers being the first. The narrative revolves around the Starfall Islands. Dr. Eggman has been living here for quite some time, uncovering the lost technological marvels of the ancients. He connects his universal hard drive to their mainframe, attempting to download their infinite knowledge, but in the process, he is sucked into the database, stuck in cyberspace. A few days later, Sonic and Co. find themselves flying above the Starfall Islands, chasing the Chaos Emeralds. Before they can land, a rift to cyberspace opens, and their team is sucked in as well. Sonic's speed allows him to tear through cyberspace and escape. To save his friends, Sonic must explore the islands, gather the 7 Chaos Emeralds, and defeat the Titans guarding the islands. However, Sonic's journey is not so easy. Sage, a human-like program built by Eggman, stands against him, fighting to keep Sonic from saving his friends. Sonic Frontiers breaks away from the level-based format Sonic is known for and throws him into a pseudo-open world. While traditional levels are still present, the main focus of Sonic Frontiers is on the world around them.
Where's the goal ring?
Each island is a playground for Sonic to run around in, perform tricks, fight enemies, and solve puzzles. All of Sonic's iconic moves return, as well as some new abilities and attacks that fit right at home in the world of Frontiers. The most important new move that Sonic gains is the Psyloop, an ability he obtained while infected by cyberspace. Sonic can use Psylooping to hack ancient technology and damage enemies. But the coolest feature of Psylooping is the Figure 8. If you Psyloop in a Figure 8, Sonic gains an infinite dash for a short period of time. The map in Sonic Frontiers allows you to keep track of your progress. Each map is initially blank. You put them together piece by completing small challenges near red question marks scattered around the map.
Eat this log. Sure, why not? Good thing I always carry on a bottle of cheater sauce.
While exploring the map, you'll find various collectibles to upgrade Sonic. The blue crystals dropped by enemies unlock new moves. The red and blue fruit obtained in boxes and through completing challenges increases his offense and defense. And small creatures that inhabit the Starfall Islands, called Coco, increase Sonic's ring count and speed. Sonic has a ring count of 400 because the rings act more like a health bar in Frontiers than their usual method of protection. By upgrading your defense, you can lower the amount of rings Sonic loses when he gets hit. I have to geek out a bit and talk about how much fun it is to run around the map at max speed. It's so satisfying and liberating to zip from one destination to the next, especially when you ramp off the ground and fly through the air. It's so refreshing. Sonic's increased speed isn't just for show, it's also useful for snagging collectibles. You can grab memory tokens quicker by dashing through the air rather than hunting down the beginning of an obstacle course. Memory tokens are a type of collectible used for story progression and heart-to-heart conversations between characters. At each island, Sonic meets up with one of his friends, stuck between cyberspace and reality. By giving them memory tokens, you grow closer to them and learn about the history of the ancients. Sonic can also give memory tokens to Sage, allowing the two to better understand each other and their goals.
I'm afraid of red, Ginge. I already knew that. And the color blue. What?
A new type of currency was added to Frontiers as purple fishing coins. These coins allow you to fish with big at purple portals. Fish aren't the only things floating in the pond. You can catch trash, various items from past Sonic games, and scrolls that allow you to teleport around the map. You are rewarded with frog tokens for each catch. The amount you earn depends on the size and rarity of your catch. Your frog tokens can then be traded to Big for various goodies.
Yo, can I have a bullet? Sure.
You can purchase the various collectibles that upgrade Sonic. This is a quicker way to upgrade him rather than doing challenges and searching for them in the overworld. You can also purchase egg memos. Egg memos are diary logs Eggman wrote while stuck in cyberspace since he had nothing better to do. The majority of the memos refer back to the older titles in the franchise, attempting to explain the inconsistencies with the conflicting lore and give us some insight on the future of the series. After Kevin murdered me in the second half of my Zombies review, my body rotted on the floor for 6 months. As my spirit wandered, I found myself face to face with the gods of gaming. They knew the industry couldn't thrive without me and brought me back to life. Wait, I thought you bribed Princess Peach for a 1-up. The memo where Eggman reminisces about Maria is particularly interesting. I never thought about it before, but Maria was shot over 50 years ago, and from the sound of things, Eggman was around her age. But even if he was significantly younger, he should theoretically be at least in his mid-50s by now, and that's clearly not the case. Although, none of the games ever explicitly state that Eggman was alive back then, so I'm thinking too hard about this. Sonic Frontiers has real-time weather and a day and night cycle that go by pretty quickly. Every few nights, a meteor shower will cover the island with rainbow stars. The stars allow you to gain fishing coins quicker by spinning reels. The more stars you collect, the more likely you are to hit a jackpot. Also, all the enemies you've defeated will return, allowing you to collect more gears and continue leveling up. Mini-bosses also made their way to Frontiers, most of which are bigger than normal enemies, and are usually fought in cycles. Mini-bosses drop portal gears, the currency needed for Sonic to re-enter cyberspace through red portals. Cyberspace stages are the standard levels we're used to in Sonic games. The only difference is that they are shorter and the red rings are easier to find. Like I said earlier, the main focus of Frontiers is on the open world, not the individual stages, so they didn't need to be challenging. Each stage comes with a list of challenges that reward you with keys for completing them. These keys are used to collect the Chaos Emeralds locked in generators hidden around the map. After you've collected 6 emeralds, it's time to take on a boss. Each island is guarded by a Titan that can only be destroyed with Supersonic. The final emerald is located on the head of each Titan, so before the boss battle even begins, you have to avoid the Titan's attacks and snag that last emerald.
Nope.
The boss fights in Sonic Frontiers are really fun, and my favorite part of the game. Each battle feels like its own final boss from past Sonic games. Epic music plays while you're flying through the air battling an enemy 1,000 times your size. It's enjoyably thrilling. Like most Supersonic fights, you don't take damage, but your ring count will slowly deplete as the battle goes on. You have to use your skills and memorize patterns to take the bosses down before you run out. If you rush through the game, exclusively focusing on necessities rather than exploring and upgrading Sonic, the boss fights are slower and not as fun, but if you're well prepared, you'll have a good time. With that being said, if you over-upgrade Sonic, the battles will end too quickly. There isn't a cap on how much Sonic can level up in each area, so over-preparing can leave you underwhelmed. Also, don't forget to stock up on rings before you grab that last emerald, or you'll regret it. Oh, and if you lose to Giganto, he eats Sonic. I just thought that was funny, I don't know why.
Giganto just ate red. Dibs on his 4-sword.
After completing the game, you unlock an arcade mode that allows you to replay the individual stages. The arcade is welcomed as it's a quicker way to access each stage rather than racing back to each portal. However, the challenges you've completed in the main game do not carry over to the arcade. If you decide to complete the challenges again in arcade mode, you aren't rewarded for them. Sonic Frontiers has a few outfits for Sonic, the first of which is his iconic soap shoes from Sonic Adventure 2. In order to get them, you have to subscribe to the Sonic Frontiers newsletter before January 31st. There's a link to the newsletter in the description for those of you who are interested. After the deadline, you'll probably be able to get them through a microtransaction, but you might as well snag them now while they're free. The other two outfits are Rathalos armor from the Monster Hunter series. I guess Sega thought they needed to reference another open world game to help them drive sales. But honestly, how many of you didn't play with Soap Sonic your first time around? They're a nice addition, but they feel out of place. Rathalos armor wasn't the only Monster Hunter reference thrown in Sonic Frontiers. The game's first update added a cooking option at Big's Pond. You can cook the meat you catch over a fire for a few additional frog tokens. Does Sonic Frontiers have any flaws? Oh yeah, Sonic Frontiers has quite a few flaws and several downsides. The in-game help prompts are way too handholdy, and so abundant they become annoying really fast. Sonic Frontiers also has an easy mode, and it's really sad. Hard mode in Frontiers is the standard difficulty for most Sonic games, and even when playing on the hardest setting, it's an easy game, especially compared to the other Sonic titles. The real difficulty comes from your ability to solve puzzles. And I concede, some of the puzzles in Sonic Frontiers take a bit of overthinking to figure out. It's not something most Sonic fans enjoy, as the majority of Sonic games primarily focus on physical skill, not brain power. But I don't think changing the game's difficulty affects the difficulty of the puzzles, so there's no excuse not to play on hard mode. Oh, and that's another thing. Even when playing on hard, the stupid help prompts are crammed in your face. Seriously, they act like I've never played a video game before. There is an upside to the game having multiple difficulties though. You have to beat the game on hard to get the true ending. This is something I actually appreciate, as most modern day easy modes in games advocate to people who don't play games and refuse to improve, but in order to beat this game, they have no choice. But I digress. I have a couple of gripes with Sonic's appearance. The first thing you'll notice if you've been a Sonic fan for a while is that Sonic's quills are too short. They just are. Sonic Team needs to fix that. The second is that Sonic glows in the dark. He never stays the same color. His color changes depending on the time of day. This was probably done to make him easier to see at night, but it makes him stand out. I'd rather he just stay one color. He's almost always in the middle of the screen anyway, so it's hard to lose track of him. Some of the Chaos Emeralds hidden in the game are collected via story progression minigames. I have an issue with this because the Emeralds are powerful items usually needed to unlock the true ending of a Sonic game, and as such, they are difficult to obtain. When I snag one from a simple minigame, it feels unearned. At least with the Generator Emeralds, I have to collect enough keys to unlock them, find out where they are located, and then figure out how to get to them. But the minigame Emeralds were a total buzzkill.
To get the red emerald, all you have to do is climb the mountain, drink from the sacred river of life, and then fight a dragon on the other side of the world. How do we get the white emerald? Finish this bottle of Deadshot Daiquiri.
There are a total of 3 Starfall Islands, only one of which is aesthetically pleasing. Kronos Island is a beautiful grassy island that's fun to run around in, but the second island is a desert that's all kinds of boring. Everywhere looks exactly the same and unappealing, and the same can be said for the third island. It's supposed to be a volcano, which may sound cool in theory, but it's just an island of black rock with lava sprinkled here and there. Why not an aquatic beach-themed island? Or maybe a haunted island full of gravestones and ghosts, similar to Pumpkin Hill? Or how about a mushroom forest island? They had plenty of options for islands, and they went with the blandest designs they could think of. There's no way to refight bosses you've already defeated without replaying the game over again. A boss rush mode wouldn't make much sense due to the small number and lack of creativity of the bosses, but I would at least like to travel back to the bosses' arenas for an encore every now and then without having to restart the game. Most, if not all the cyberspace stages are reused levels from past Sonic games, with a fresh coat of paint. Most of the stages I noticed right away were reused from Sonic Adventure 2. On the surface, this may seem like a fun little reference, and the narrative does a great job of explaining this.
Hear me out. Do you think all those locations I visited were pulled from my memories?
That is plausible. It imported the data of your memories and applied it to your surroundings, so you could comprehend them.
Maybe that gave me the edge I needed to escape each time.
But in reality, this is another example of Sonic Team cutting corners to get the game out faster. There's a 2D animated intro for the game that shows how Knuckles found his way to the Starfall Islands. It was used to advertise the game a few weeks before it released as a prologue. However, the animation wasn't included in the game. Unlike most Sonic games, Frontier doesn't have a theater room to rewatch the cutscenes or a sound test room to listen to the in-game music. These have been staples in the Sonic franchise since the GameCube era. You could argue that removing these options gives the game more replay value, but well-made Sonic games are iconic for being replayable just because they are fun. You shouldn't need another reason to replay a good game. Also, the song Vandalize, the one used in most of the ads, isn't even in the game, unless it's the end theme for Easy Mode or something. Unlike Don't Stop Me Now by Queen, another song used in the ads, Vandalize was written for Sonic Frontiers, so it's weird they left it out. And while we're talking about Vandalize, here's a fun fact. There are two versions of the song, a clean version and an unclean version. In the unclean version, there's a line in the chorus that goes, "F the pain away," but in the clean version, the line is, "Fight the pain away." Alright, we still have a few flaws to cover, but the remainder of them spoil huge plot points in the game, so skip to the time on the screen if you don't want to hear them. The Chaos Emeralds are originally from space and were drawn to Earth by the Master Emerald. Despite this being an important point to the background of the Ancients, it is never explored further beyond a short cutscene. Knowing what we know about the Master Emerald, why was it on Earth when the Chaos Emeralds were on a different planet? Also, the Chaos Emeralds being from space is not an origin story, it just raises more questions. As Sonic pops in and out of cyberspace, his body becomes corrupted. As the game goes on, we see Sonic slowly getting weaker as the cyber energy tears him apart. Late game, Sonic is so saturated with cyber energy, it shatters his mind, perpetually trapping him between cyberspace and reality. He is then instantly saved by his friends in such an anticlimactic way, making the build-up meaningless. Talk about a big fight you to the audience. As a Sonic game, we all knew from the very beginning he was going to be fine, it's Sonic the Hedgehog, but at least give us a satisfying conclusion. When Sonic dies in Sonic 06, his friends have to gather the Chaos Emeralds scattered across the rift in time to bring him back to life. In Sonic Frontiers, they just snap their fingers. Very disappointing. And speaking of things that are disappointing, the final boss is very lackluster and boring. Shooting it with bullets should have been the first phase at least, not the entire boss fight. You know you've messed up when your final boss is the worst boss in the game. This is a being that chased the Ancients from their home to a new planet, and all it is a giant floating ball. The Ancients are chaos creatures like Chaos from Sonic Adventure 1. Many people, including Sonic Team apparently, forgot that Chaos has a tail. It was swallowed by Froggy at the beginning of Sonic Adventure 1, so Chaos Zero is never seen with it, which is strange because he gets it back after acquiring 6 emeralds, and at the end of the game when he turns back into Chaos Zero, it's gone again. I guess Sonic Team couldn't be bothered to create a model of him with his tail and thus forgot he had a tail altogether. My point is that the Ancients should also have tails, but they don't. And that's all there is to Sonic Frontiers at the moment, even with its many flaws. Is Sonic Frontiers a gem? Of course not, but it was never meant to be. If my source is reliable, Sonic Frontiers had to come out in a hurry, which is why so many corners were cut. Sonic Team will most likely fix a lot of my complaints as time goes on, but for the moment, Sonic Frontiers is exactly what it needs to be. A fun Sonic game that shows that the developers still have passion for the series. It's not winning Game of the Year, but Sonic Frontiers is the first good Sonic game we've had in a while, and for that alone, the fans are happy. Don't get me wrong, I expect better from future Sonic games, but like I said at the beginning of this video, Sonic Frontiers is a step in the right direction, and a beacon of hope for the future of the franchise. As always, before we end the video, here are a few fun facts about the game. Sonic has a counter ability which you perform differently depending on the console you're playing on. On PS4, PS5, and Switch, you simply hold the bumper buttons and Sonic will counter automatically. On PC, I've been told you have to hold the bumpers down and dodge right before you get hit to counter successfully. And on Xbox, you either have to do the same thing, or you just let go of the bumper buttons at the right moment. Either way, the trick is a little more difficult on PC and Xbox. Sonic Frontiers doesn't just reference the mainstream games, it also references a few spin-off titles, and even a character from the comics. DPadGamer has already created a video on what he's found so far. I'll link it in the description if you want to check it out after you finish this video. SEGA has plans to update the game over the course of 2023 with additional content, and yes, they explicitly call them updates instead of DLC. On screen is a list of all the updates that are planned for the coming year. I don't know if I'll do 3 separate videos for each of them as they release, or just wait till they all release and do one giant follow-up video. Either way, a follow-up video will come in the future. And the final fun fact can be found in the newsletter along with the soap shoes. SEGA created a prologue comic 8 pages long of the events prior to Sonic and Friends' trip to the Starfall Islands. Give it a read if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching, and keep on gaming.